Hi everyone, and today we are talking to Kizito from Gen South Africa, who organized a huge event, Global Entrepreneurship Congress this year, and which was wonderful in many aspects. Hello Kizito, how are you doing right now?
Hi, Alessia. I'm doing well. I'm well rested after the hectic Congress, but I'm glad I could see you in Johannesburg.
So how was it? How was it to organize such a huge event out there in South Africa? How was it for you as an experience, as a person that led the whole process and got people on board?
I think for us it's a big opportunity, but also a huge challenge, which from your experience, and thank you for the compliment. We managed to handle it. Auditors that supported us throughout the event, and for us hosting this, it's an opportunity to ensure that startups in Africa, startups in South Africa have the opportunity to meet the global entrepreneurship ecosystem in a place, in a congress. It's also an opportunity for startups, for the whole ecosystem in Africa to learn what other global counterparts are doing, but also to launch new programs, to better their programs, to bring out new ideas within the entrepreneurship space, but also to develop new policies and new thinking that will support entrepreneurs on the continent. It's a challenge for us also to host the Congress, in the sense that we need to get all the resources and get all the partners to work together towards one goal. And but it's a challenge that turned into an opportunity. It's a challenge that turned into a success, that turned us actually learn how to collaborate together. So I must say it's a big opportunity for us, and we'll do it over again if we have chance to do it.
Yeah, and as a community builder myself, I understand how vital it is for this type of event to get people on board. How did you gain buy-in? Because you had to have a very strong steering committee to run this type of event. What how did you talk to the people in your community? Because there are so many organizations dealing with entrepreneurship. I assume, and I'm sure because I've worked with some South African, and I'm still working with some from Cape Town and from Johannesburg, that many of you regard themselves as leaders. How do you put these leaders together so they can work towards a single goal, towards creating something bigger for the whole community? What were your tricks?
Thank you, Alicia. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Alicia, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. I
Okay,
know that the
perfect.
connection is a bit bad, and just in case, I'm going to repeat my question. How did you get people on board, different community leaders, different community builders, to work together toward the single goal and creating this big congress, which was a wide success?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I think for us, the key thing we want to bid, need two type of stakeholders in order for the Congress to be successful. We need the private sector and we need the public sector buy-in. Key things we did is looking at the private sector and looking at private sector organizations playing a massive role within the entrepreneurship space. Same for the public sector, where we had the Ministry of Small Business and other agencies within but also other government agencies that actually support entrepreneurs. So we merged the two together, drafted a list of these two groups, and sending them a letter, having meetings with them. But key thing is showing them the value in supporting this. Each of them needs to derive value. If a sponsor is saying, I'm giving you my resources, and so need to know that there is value for them, but also there is value for the country. So we drafted this through a proposal and ensure that each and every partner that we approached to benefit from the process. And then we also formed a local because something about the private or public sector giving out resources. Feel involved. We need to make them to own the project. We need to make them to feel like this is their project. So we formed a local organizing committee where we had each of the sponsors were represented in the local organizing committee, including people that weren't sponsoring, but played a big role within the space. So we had this big representation of a local organizing committee, then committees. So the local organizing committee with the minister, and then we had subcommittees that were looking at things like content, things like marketing, things like logistics, things like funding, and things like partnership. So the subcommittees met every month, and the local organizing committee, which the minister chairs, meets every quarter. And then the subcommittee gives a report to the local organizing committee what we've achieved over the past 3-4 months, and this is where we need your help to open these doors and so on, and to help us get more buy-in from other partners and so on. So it was a mammoth task, but the key is always getting these two key stakeholders together, the private and the public sector, making involved and making them.
It's wonderful that you have shared this ownership with so many stakeholders, because as you said, there were local organizations, and I've seen you saying thank you to all the people that participated and in the process of organization. But it's important that it's shared, the ownership, and everybody feels that they benefit from the process, that they benefit from learning, and also from sharing their expertise in the fields that they have expertise. The other question: how did you get the international part involved so they can share their expertise as well? Who helped you with that? Did you rely only on your resources or on Global Entrepreneurship Network resources? How did you organize that part where you got the international expertise and consultants involved?
Thank you very much. I think we relied heavily on the Global Entrepreneurship Network in Washington. And I must say that the president of GEN, Jonathan Otmans, was very instrumental in this. We did a lot of work outside. So we selected few countries where we did what we call delegate boosting. And delegate boosting is in the sense that we go to this country, we give out flyers, we share with them about GEC Johannesburg and share what we want to achieve. Perhaps that are in those countries to come to Johannesburg. So we did that in a few African countries, but also in other countries outside of the continent. And I must say that that was really successful, because that shows that we didn't just focus on South Africa or focus on the network of GEN. We also went out ourselves to get other startups in other countries to be involved in this. So we did what we call delegate boosting through that process.
Mm-hmm. And now, as I understand, the registered number was approximately 8,400. People were very interested to know about the content and about the to know about more about the Global Entrepreneurship Congress. What do you think, besides the whole process of organizing all the efforts, what do you think it brought to the country, to your country? Else, maybe something like new connections, I don't know, or something, or a program that basically developed based on GEC, maybe a national program. I don't know, I'm asking. I'm curious.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. I think one of the key outings or one of the key takeouts that will derive from the GEC that just took place is GEC Africa was launched, and you know that the objective of Gen Africa is to put a strong presence within all the 54 countries on the continent and ensure that each country on the continent got a system and organizations that supports entrepreneurs in those countries. But also GEC Africa was launched. So every year we expect the global community to come to the continent every year. It could be South Africa, it could be Nigeria, it could be Kenya, and so on. And that is very important for us because within the whole ecosystem, you're looking at the investors, you're looking at the researchers, you're looking at program leads, you're looking at MDs of Gen coming every year. So that is a big takeout for us. There are other things that also happen, and the first GC Africa will be held next year. Other big takeouts for us, organizations that launch new programs. There are organizations that are not part of, that haven't done anything within the entrepreneurship space. They are now launching new programs also to attract more entrepreneurs and support more entrepreneurs. There are different funding aspects also. There are a few organizations launching a crowdfunding element to support entrepreneurs. There is the where entrepreneurs and startups could also access a portal to find new markets, to find new connections, and so on. And also there are policies now, and also South Africa now have its own researched entrepreneurship ecosystem that was also launched at the GEC. The ministry is looking at new ways of doing things, and so there is a lot of positives. But the key positive for us was the launch of Gen Africa, the launch of Gen South Africa, but also the launch of which will start next year.
So how does Gen Africa is going to be positioned as in respect to Gen South Africa?
Yeah, be more of a collaborative aspect. Africa will have various regions on the continent that will work towards promoting Gen Africa's mandate, and Gen South Africa together. Gen South Africa will be leading that in the Southern Africa region, and then we'll have Gen Nigeria leading it from West Africa region, Gen Kenya leading it from East, and Gen Algeria also leading it from Northern Africa region. So we'll have all these regions that will be supporting other African gens and so on to promote the vision and mission of Gen Africa.
It's very curious and very nice that the way everything was organized throughout the process of creating like GEC. You've gained so much insight and what happens in other countries in Africa as well. And I think it's a really good example for other countries and for other continents of what you have done so far. The other thing I really enjoyed in this program that you had it was the cultural program, because to be honest, I had no idea about South African culture, and I've discovered through the cultural program you had. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to Cape Town to GEC Plus. I went before the event but I would like to know more. What was GEC Plus about? Why is it important to focus so much on education? And how is it going to be shaped differently based on that? Because I had some discussion, and the education is not entirely insured in South Africa. Because in my country, for example, in Moldova, it's mandatory that kids get to the 9th grade. So they are obliged by law. So I found that it's very different in South Africa. And how do we integrate entrepreneurial education into the whole system?
And big synergy between education and entrepreneurship. I think that is what in South Africa we already but also in the whole continent. President of South Africa, during his speech keynote address at the launch of the GEC, entrepreneurship must be included in curriculum in schools. Not like that. It's more of the and our school is built theoretical knowledge and so on. So now there is that push from the top, from the government, that we must include entrepreneurship in the schools. Some schools have already started this process. Schools, what they do is that they usually have or entrepreneurship organizations or incubators coming to their schools every day to 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 go through a workshop with learners on design thinking, on innovation, and so on. So that was already happening in currently in South Africa. But I think the key thing all this is when it's officially launched or when it's officially embedded in as a curriculum in all the schools. And is really working on that with all the stakeholders. This will happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And it's important as well for my country as well for to have entrepreneurship as a part of the curricula, and not only in theoretical, as you said, as you mentioned, but also with practical skills, because jobs are not created without entrepreneurs. Definitely, the revenue of the country is highly dependent on entrepreneurship. So I would like to see more of an entrepreneurial and more constructive culture that helps them develop the ties with the external world, because it's, I don't know about, but for South Africa, it's very diverse. It's very big country, huge country, and you have so many resources. But with us being small, you're pushed to be more creative in finding solutions. So, and we need to be very connected with the outside world to grow our companies internationally. So that's a must. What would you have to say to the entrepreneurs that are interested to come to GEC next year, based on the experience that you've had as a community builder, as an entrepreneur, because you have to be an entrepreneur to get so many people on board and to create something like that? What would you recommend to those that are interested in joining GEC and in joining GM? What would be your message for them?
I must say that I missed you a bit there, but I think I captured the essence of your question. I think for us, for entrepreneurs globally, say to them is they must be part of GEN, they must be part of GEC, because it's a community of doers, it's a community of shakers, it's a community of innovators, it's a community of people, individuals with great minds that actually make things happen. And I think that entrepreneurs will also have the opportunity to connect with over 10 million people globally, because GEN in itself, operating in 171 countries, 10 million people as members. So entrepreneurs coming to GEC, being part of GEN in their own countries, opportunity to connect with these common of the global entrepreneurship ecosystem. And even for startups, there are opportunities for them to, and there are opportunities for them to meet mentors. There are opportunities for them to meet their peers. Ministers, for government officials, there are opportunities also for them to meet their peers. There are opportunities for them to exchange ideas on policies, exchange ideas on how they could better support entrepreneurs in their countries. Managers, for accelerators, so on, there are opportunities also for them to learn what has worked in other countries. So this is a global community, not just for entrepreneurs, but anyone working with entrepreneurs, anyone within this should actually be part of GEN and should support GEN in their own countries and ensure that the GEC that takes place is in their calendar, but also the GEC Africa that was in their calendar. I think those are things that people globally within the ecosystem should never miss.
Thank you so much, Kizito, for everything, for your insights, and especially I really enjoyed our discussion because you're very open to tell us about some of the um, things that you have done in the process of organizing something like that. And I wish you well, and I know you are going for a vacation. So have a really great vacation where you go and enjoy and have some free time for yourself. Thank you, and it was really nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Alicia, and thanks to all the Gen community in Moldova. And send our regards, and we look forward to I look forward to seeing you in Turkey next year for the GEC, and seeing you for GEC Africa next year.